Am I the a-hole for not splitting money left to me between my siblings? My dad died when I, 16 male, was a baby. My mom remarried when I was 4 or maybe 5. I don't really remember a time my stepdad wasn't around, though that's not a very good thing. He's a crappy stepdad and a crappy dad to my siblings. Stepsister who is 15, brothers who are 10 and 7, and sister who is 9. My mom stays with him though, and just lets him not involved or even nice to his own kids, because she doesn't want to be alone. My dad's family has been in my life always, and I'm very close to them all. My dad's only sister and I were extra close though. She adored me and always told me I was just like my dad, and he was the best man she knew. She said she would be so proud of me. She died a few months ago and left the bulk of everything to me. And she had a lot of assets. My mom and stepdad were annoyed when they heard because she left my cousins all something, even though not as much as me. Yet nothing for my stepsister or siblings who also considers her their aunt. Dad's family has included them in some stuff to be nice, but they're not considered grandkids or anything like that. My mom told me what I got should be split equally between us all. I said I shouldn't, because my aunt wanted stuff left to me. She told me that if I asked my grandparents to give me access to the money now, that they would, and that we could all benefit from it. I told her they would do that, but I'm not going to ask. Stepdad then told me my siblings will now realize we, as in me and my paternal family, hate them. I don't want them, and they will see what a horrible brother I am, and what a good sister his daughter is, even though she actually hates our siblings and has never had a good relationship with them. Mom told me I was hogging more than I would ever need and not thinking of their futures. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your mom and stepdad want access to that money and are using your siblings to get it. Tell your grandparents what you just wrote here, and don't even try to get that money before you are 18, and leave the house for your own sake. My grandparents already know what is going on, and only they can access the money since my aunt set it up that way. If I wanted to access it, then I'd need to go through them, so the money's safe. I'll probably live with my grandparents for a bit and figure out my future when I graduate, and then can access the money and figure stuff out. This is a very smart, mature decision. Not the a-hole. Your stepfather's children have their own paternal family to care for them, as well as your mother's family. In other words, they have 2 sets of family just as you do. Whether or not those people have assets to share is not your problem. Your aunt left assets to you specifically, and her bloodline. You do not owe this money to anyone, not even your siblings. They are not your responsibility. Your mother and stepfather are a-holes for attempting to manipulate you, a child, out of your assets. Should you, at a later date, choose to gift your siblings something, that is up to you, but you should wait until you're a legal adult to decide. This is near and dear to my heart because I lost my husband when I was pregnant. I am not remarried and my son is 6, but should anyone in my late husband's family leave him anything, it would be his. I am so sorry your family's acting this way and pressuring you. This is not okay. I would maybe speak confidentially with your grandparents about the situation and see if they can put this in a trust for you. Let them know that you feel that your mother and stepfather would mismanage these assets and ensure an adult is in charge in case they pass away. They already know, but the money is safe, so there is nothing else to be done. Do you have a will? Although it's unlikely it will be needed at your age, it could happen. Without a will, the money would go to your closest relative, your mom and or your half-siblings, depending on the laws in your state. Is that what you would want to happen to the money? Next story. Am I the a-hole for showing favoritism towards my grandkids? My son married his high school girlfriend when he was 19. I told him I don't approve of his choice for 2 reasons. 1, he's too young. 2, we never liked his girlfriend, so I will never help him with anything. They have 2 kids, Jonah, male 17, and Laura, female 16. When Laura was born, my son begged me for help because they couldn't afford child care for 2 kids, even though they both work full-time, and none of them can become a stay-at-home parent because they need the money. Even though I told him I won't help, I decided to help anyway because of my grandkids, and hired a nanny for them. The problem is that, whenever we were at their home, I noticed that his wife only takes care of Jonah and leaves Laura completely to the nanny. I never saw her play with Laura or anything, while she was always holding Jonah and playing with him. Once, I told her it won't kill her to touch her daughter sometimes, which caused a huge fight between us, and I fired a nanny. and told them the only help I will give is that I will babysit Laura for them and pay for everything she needs, but I won't help with anything else. My wife and I took care of Laura more than her own parents did. Now, my sweet daughter turned 16 a few months ago. I bought a car for her as she earned some of the money by helping me with my job, and I paid for the rest. Jonah is turning 18 in a few months, and my son asked me to help buy a car for him. I told him I'm sorry, but I won't do that, because I made it clear that I will only help with Laura's expenses. He accused me of showing favoritism and called me an a-hole and being a terrible grandfather for giving one child a luxurious life, but not doing anything for the other one. I told him I'm doing this because he and his wife are terrible parents to Laura, so someone needs to favor her. Now for the top comments. Everyone sucks here. You thought it was wrong that your daughter-in-law showed favoritism, so you responded by showing favoritism? Are you familiar with the phrase, two wrongs don't make a right? I'm going to have to disagree. Daughter-in-law was actively neglecting Laura, and therefore mistreating her. Opie not giving Jonah things is not neglect nor abuse. It's clear Opie took a parental role for Laura, so comparing his treatment to a grandchild isn't a valid comparison. Not the a-hole. Jonah, why did you buy my sister a car but won't buy me one? Opie, because you have a terrible mother. Yeah, good luck with that conversation. And he refers to Laura as his daughter. Because Laura is basically living with me and my wife, and her parents don't care. And because she has been going to therapy for years to deal with rejection from her parents and has some mental health issues due to this, while Jonah is doing very well and is being raised by parents who love and care about him and provide him with an okay life. Trust me when I tell you, he understands this a lot better than his parents, and he wouldn't swap his life with Laura. You literally stole Laura from her parents and made it where they couldn't have a relationship because you were whispering in everyone's ears about how your daughter-in-law is a terrible mother. You manipulated Laura against her parents and wonder why they only have a relationship with Jonah. You're the a-hole. I babysat her when they were at work. After that, they were responsible for her. I didn't steal anyone. I started babysitting her when she was 4 and sent her back to her parents every day after they came back from work. By 11, she was almost living with us full-time because she didn't want to go home. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to rearrange my work schedule to take my nephew to school? So I, 28 female, don't have kids nor want them frankly. I have a job that I like, work a shift that I like. I'm early mornings, 5 a.m/6 a.m. to 1/2 p.m. It took me a while to adjust to it, but now that I have a whole routine. I have a sister M, 31 female, and she has a 7-year-old son Timmy. I've never been that aunt that borrows my nephew for the day to go do whatever. I mean, if he's around, I'll talk to him and play with him, and I buy him gifts for special occasions. I have friends that'll take their nieces/nephews a few times a month and go to movies, different events, take them shopping and spoil them. That's never been me. Well, Em called me Sunday and asked if I could take Timmy to school in the mornings for a while. I said, what? No, I work early in the morning. She said, but didn't you say you could go to second shift if you wanted to? I can, but I don't want to. Apparently, Timmy's dad, Ryan, has to work third shift for a while, and Em doesn't want him driving Timmy to school after working because he'll be tired. Our parents can't because they also work. Ryan used to work second shift and would take him to school, then Em would pick him up. Em works 6 to 2, but has a 30 to 45-minute commute. She wants me to go to second shift and she'll drop him off by me. Or I can come by them in the morning, give him breakfast, get him ready and take him to school. I asked for how long. She said she didn't know, but Ryan was going to try to move back to second when they have an opening. So it could be a month, could be a year. I'm not going to switch to second and have Ryan go back to second in a month, and then I'm stuck on a shift I hate. I can't just bounce back and forth either. I get an hour lunch break. It's usually at 9 or 10, but I'm sure if I explained the situation, my boss would allow me to take it at 7:30. Then I could take Timmy to school and come back. I offered this to Em and she rejected it. Said that she's not leaving her 7-year-old home alone for 2 hours. I said, but Ryan will be there. She claims since he might be asleep, Timmy would be on his own and she doesn't want that. I said, well, that's all I can offer you. I'm not changing shifts. This is part of why I don't have kids, to avoid incidents like this. Which he's 7, not 2, but whatever. Em went running to our mom. And my mom says I should be more willing to help my sister and it'll give me the opportunity to spend time with Timmy. Family sacrifices for each other, and I might have to find a different job because I'm being stubborn. Am I the a-hole for refusing to switch shifts? Wow, your sister sounds incredibly entitled. Opie, don't cave to her demands. Stand your ground. 100% not the a-hole. She does. I would tell the sister that it will go into effect in late May, like the 26th or something. But you can put in for the shift change. How about Timmy start taking the school bus? My kids all do. If her husband is home and tired from driving, he can walk to the bus stop instead. Not the a-hole. You gave them a great alternative. Hubby can stay awake for 2 hours. It's their responsibility to make things work with their schedule. She asked and you said no. Now, hubby will need to get up with his kid or she will need to change jobs. Not your problem. Right. When I worked third, like 8 or 9 years ago, I'd get off at 6 or 7 a.m. and half the time I didn't go to bed till 7 or 8 anyway. So she makes no sense. That was my thinking. I don't know anyone who immediately goes to sleep after work. If he's too tired maybe to drive, he can stay awake later to put the kid on a bus in the morning. Do you have school buses? I didn't want to assume US. Not the a-hole. Their kid, their problem. You provided an alternative. Your sister didn't take it. It's a private school. They don't have buses, but they have carpool groups. I only know that because a friend of mine's kid is in K4 there. Hell no. You were not the a-hole. That is an utterly ridiculous request your sister is making of you. She wants you to change your whole life, just so her ex doesn't have to drive her kid to school when he is tired? Excuse me, but what the heck? I drove my kids to school for 16 years, and I was frigging exhausted all the time. That's so entitled I can't even believe she would ask that of you. And if mom thinks others should be supportive, then she can change her work schedule and drive the kid to school. Nope, nope, nopity nope. Don't do it. He's not her ex, he's her boyfriend. They've been together a long time, but they're not married. That's why I didn't really call him anything. He's more than a boyfriend, but not a husband. But yeah, it sounds like her, with a problem with him driving Timmy, not Ryan. Last story. Am I the a-hole and am I entitled for telling my mother I want to spend my money on myself after she bought video game consoles for my brothers with my earnings? Hi, a classmate told me to post in here. He insists that I am not the a-hole, but I'm still not sure. I'm 17 and I've done some part-time jobs since I was 16. I have 2 younger half-brothers who are my mom's and stepdad's kids. Ever since they were born, my mom asked me to help to take care of them since I'm the oldest. She always mentions that it is my responsibility. Since I started working, mom asks for 90% of the money I earn to help for house expenses that includes buying whatever my brothers need. But as a result, I barely have any money for myself. Sometimes I spend it all in transportation alone. There was a time when she told me that I'm entitled, that before getting remarried she spoiled me and that was a way to teach me how the real world works. For my 5-year-old brother's birthday in May, she bought him a Nintendo Switch. That seemed weird, since they were always complaining about having little money, but I said nothing. Then last week my 8-year-old brother's birthday and also got a Switch. I said nothing during the day, but after the party I asked my mom if she bought the consoles with the money I gave her and she answered yes. I said that money was supposed to go to house expenses, not consoles. My mom said that I also have to take care of my little brothers, and it wouldn't hurt gifting them something they will be happy with. Gotta admit, I got a little mad because I can't afford anything for myself. For example, my phone is an old iPhone 6 that no longer gets updates, and rely on the computer my school gave me for studying. I told her that my brothers already have phones, tablets, and a PlayStation. If she was gonna use the money on another console, I would rather use it on myself and things that I needed. She called me entitled and that it's easy for me to say it since I'm not an adult with children. That all I have to do is study and work. And as long as I live under her roof, I have to contribute financially. Using money that could go for little brothers on stupid things was being selfish, and that I don't appreciate how much they as parents do for the 3 of us. Also told me that I'll have to pay rent starting at my 18th birthday like a real adult. I'm still in contact with my dad, but he told me that my mom's expectations for me are normal, and that yes, it's my responsibility as the older brother to help the youngsters. I have told this to my classmates, but he says my mom is crazy, and I should have money for myself. I'm not sure about anything, that's why I'm asking here if I'm being entitled or if my mom is wrong. Gonna make clear that both mom and stepdad have full-time jobs. Edit, gotta say that 90% was a rough estimate. I did some math, and the exact amount I give her based on my current salary is 84.5%. I have so much to think about. My definition of a normal family seems to be completely wrong, and I don't know what to do. I never questioned if my mom is a bad parent before. Thanks for all the comments. Also, I don't have a bank account. My current boss is friends with my stepdad. Mom will always find me jobs when I'm jobless. And can't live with my dad because he has a new wife and won't let me live there full time. I'm so sorry this is happening to you. Not only is she exhibiting clear preferential treatment for your siblings, but she's also essentially casting you out. 100% not the a-hole. You need to have a talk about it with your dad with more details. Tell him that your brothers got $400 consoles each with your earnings, while you use an iPhone 6. See how he reacts when he hears what your birthday gifts have been versus theirs. Also, try talking to your mom. I don't want you to have to resort to lying, but imagine if you didn't work part-time anymore. You're doing that voluntarily. She can't expect it from you. Try telling her you're saving up for rent you'll have to pay her and you can't afford to give her 90%. Honestly, if I were you, I'd just ask to live with my dad full-time and set up a bank account where only you have access to and get a direct deposit from your work there. I suspect her rent price won't be reasonable either, so plan to move out from her home at 18. She is treating you like you're not family. That's truly so messed up, and I hope you get out of this okay. My parents divorced because my dad cheated. His current wife is not the woman he cheated with, but won't let me live with him full-time. If I quit my job or get fired, she will find another job for me. Has been good since I haven't been jobless for more than a few days. But that also means I won't have an excuse for not having money to pay her. Not the a-hole. And if, when you turn 18 and your mom really makes you pay the rent, my advice is to look for a shared house/room elsewhere. I'm under the impression that your mother is preventing you from putting away savings for yourself, thus forcing you to stay at home and using you as an ATM. Am I the a-hole for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé? I, 28 male, have been married to my wife, 28 female, for 7 years. And although that was very young to get married, we had been together since year 8 of secondary school. And it's safe to say I think she's the one. Now, I come from a white family in Britain, whereas she comes from a black family and she's dark-skinned. My family never were racist towards her and were immediately accepting. And her and my mother are pretty much best friends. And last year, we gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. 3 years ago, though, my twin sister got a new boyfriend, 30 male. Me and him didn't have any problems as we hardly ever spoke, but he seemed nice enough. So nice, in fact, that I helped him and my sister do the letters for their wedding. When we were starting, I checked through the guest list, and after a quick skim through, I noticed my wife's name wasn't on there. I questioned my sister about it, and she directed me to her fiancé. He stated that he didn't think it would be appropriate. I asked him what he meant, and he said that it wouldn't really seem right for us to mix, and she would be the only blackie there. I had a total outrage at this, and told my sister to cross off my name because if my wife doesn't go, I don't go. But I left her house and began to drive back to mine. I told my wife what he said, and she said I should just go to not stir up any family fights. But I told her that she was family now, and if she doesn't go, then I don't either. This whole argument has caused my family to pick sides, with my mom and dad being on mine, but with most being on my sister's. Lots of family members have called me up and told me to just come, and I decided to ask my brother-in-law if he was going to change his mind, and he put his foot down and said no. My sister now is heartbroken because our parents aren't going, nor our grandparents, but she still refuses to invite my wife. I am really torn because I want to make my family happy, but then again, my wife is my family. So am I the a-hole? Edit. Seen a lot of people saying about invites. Even if I was invited, I would not go. I just want my family to apologize to my wife. I explained to people who are on her side my reasoning, and as it turns out, the fiancé lied to them and told them that me and him had an argument. After I explained to them, about half of the people still attending announced that they weren't. Now for the top comments before reading the mini update. Not the a-hole. Your sister should be upset that she's marrying a racist, not that you don't support the union. Considering she's alright with the issue, I'm less worried for her sake that she's marrying someone like that. Sounds like she's one too. Oh, she is. Lay down with bigots and you're a bigot. Is that simple? They should have been sisters hill to die on. Instead, she sacrificed her sibling and parents on it. Your wife is more family than he will ever be. The fact your sister would even marry him after that comment is absolutely disgusting. I'd go no contact with both of them. They don't deserve any of you in their life. You're absolutely not the a-hole and do not go under any circumstances. I'm glad you defended your wife against such blatant racism, but I'm truly disgusted with your sister. Really tell sis she ain't family no more. Not a-hole, of course. You're doing the right thing. You need to have your wife's back and by extension your son's. If you knuckle under now, there's going to be even more and more blatant stupid crap from your brother-in-law, and possibly more of the family if they see him getting away with it. Now for the update. Great news, everybody. The fiancé has been in a way banished from the family after everybody learned why I wasn't attending. I have also cut most ties with my sister. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not standing up for my wife when my uncle made a gold digger joke because what she said mortified me? I haven't seen my mom in a year. Last year, there was a big fight between me, my wife, and my mother about how Christmas would work and who would host. And that's when my mom decided she didn't want to see me anymore. It sucks, but I'm not going to beg her. However, my wife and I have a disagreement regarding our 1.5-year-old son. She thinks my mom is a horrid person for not sending him gifts, cards, asking for pictures. I think if my mom actually wants no contact, she's doing the respectful thing. Also, we both agree she wouldn't be allowed to see him, so I don't really get what my wife wants. I've asked her to not badmouth my mom to any of my family. I want to preserve the few relationships I have left. And it is honestly embarrassing. My grandparents gave my mom zero help with me because not their kid, not their problem. And that was with them being fairly close to my mom. So I can't imagine how they would react to hearing my wife's views on this. Recently, we ran into my uncle at my grandparents' house. It was awkward as I know that the dude hates me and is 100% on my mom's team. But we were all guilted into staying for lunch. My grandmother was trying to get my uncle to come for Thanksgiving, and he got pissy and said no, and that she knows he spent all holidays with my mom. My wife then asked how my mom was, and I felt myself cringe. My uncle said she's great. My wife replied, we wouldn't know as she never sends any gifts for our son, so maybe she's dead. I gave her a look begging her to stop, while my uncle's wife just burst out laughing. My uncle asked if she was kidding, or if she really thought my mom was going to buy gifts for a child she did not know. My wife went on a rant about how she would do anything to have any amount of contact with our future grandchildren. My uncle laughed and said, wow, such a gold digger, you put my ex to shame. My wife immediately looked like she was going to cry, but I just couldn't bring myself to say anything. I was mortified, and I'd begged her not to bring up the gift thing. She asked if I was going to defend her. I said no, and she ran out of the room. We left and she is furious with me. She says I betrayed her and that my mom is going to laugh when she hears of this. I told her that she humiliated me and I had begged her to stop with the gifts. Not the a-hole. Your wife making a big deal about not getting gifts from someone who is no contact with you is absurd and need not be defended. We all know if his mom did send gifts or request photos, wife would refuse them and probably rant about how horrible his mom is to want access to the kids but not them. Everyone sucks here. Not because you didn't defend her, but I have a feeling there's a good reason your mom and uncle want nothing to do with you. I would assume it's more to do with the wife than with him. Although I guess it still makes him an a-hole to bring a toxic person into his family and let her wreak havoc. His wife wanted to host Christmas, so he invited his mom because he knew no one else would come if his mom hosted her normal Christmas at the same time. And this is how mom replied. My wife really wanted to host Christmas, but no one would come if my mom hosted an alternative. So I asked my mom to come and she went insane, accusing me of wanting her to be martyr, and said to put my wife first but don't let her put her husband first. She was screaming about how her needs are just as important as my wife's. And why should her husband be forced to spend Christmas with us? She said she regrets having me and doesn't want to see me again. Everyone sucks here because you all sound like awful people. That's really all there is to it. I could try to get into details, but really, you all suck. Try to bring up your kid to be better. Good luck with that. Yeah, every single person in this story needs a timeout, a nap, and a snack. Not the a-hole. Why is your wife so desperate for gifts from someone she's no contact with? She opened the door to everything that happened after asking about your mom, so she needs to live with it. How exactly does she want you to defend the indefensible? I think what the wife wants is for the mom to come begging to spend time with the kids and try bribing with gifts. She already said they're not going to allow the mom to see the kids, so I think she wanted the mom to ask so she can say no. Next story. Am I the a-hole for backing out of going to my mother-in-law's house for Thanksgiving after I overheard her conversation with my husband? My brother, 19, passed away in a motorcycle accident a month ago. It was so devastating. It's also fresh, and grief has been heavy on me. But I try to carry on with my life and visit the family and my in-laws. I basically do my best not to miss an event, especially with my in-laws. My husband and I were invited to Thanksgiving by mother-in-law. I was planning to go. I even went shopping for a dress, which is hard to do due to grief, but I kept it together. Last night, we were at her house and I excused myself to the bathroom while she and my husband and his dad were talking. I came back and heard her ask why I didn't turn her Thanksgiving invitation down. I was puzzled. I decided to stop and listen more. My husband said that it was my mother-in-law's fault she invited me, but she said that she did it out of courtesy and that she didn't think I'd accept the invite. She said that now I'll potentially ruin the celebration with my negative vibe and will make things awkward for everybody because of my brother's passing. I was stunned. My husband replied saying that I do tend to get emotional usually. Now it's worse that there's death in the family. I was so upset I didn't know whether I should go home or pretend to not have heard this. I stayed quiet till we went home. There, I told him I won't be going to spend Thanksgiving with his mother and family. He asked why and started pressuring me to talk. I told him about a conversation he had with mother-in-law, and he got upset and accused me of stirring drama by snooping and eavesdropping on conversations that I wasn't part of. We got into a massive argument about it, and he kept saying that I was being too sensitive and unreasonable. His mom tried to call then texted about me not hearing their conversation properly, and that there was a huge misunderstanding. Now she's saying the guests will ask about me if I'm not there and there's going to be issues. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Get a divorce ASAP. This right here. OP is grieving, and all the in-laws are thinking about is the negative energy. Grieving is not negative energy. It is pain and hurt someone feels, and it was made so much worse by the husband and mother-in-law. OP, don't be with someone who can't support you. Someone who scolds you for eavesdropping, but who had the audacity to talk poorly about his wife behind her back and not protecting her. He is the issue. I hope OP has a safe place to go and spends the time there while looking for a divorce attorney. Marriage is about the good and the bad. What in the world? I am so sorry for your loss, first off. But they're all a-holes, obviously. The mother-in-law is manipulating and gaslighting you at an incredibly vulnerable time for you. To think that what you heard is incorrect, and your own husband, the one who has seen you lose your brother, witnessed your very valid grief, and now has the audacity to turn the blame to you because how dare you be too emotional and make a dramatic situation out of the death of your brother? I'm not going to say you need to dump that family, but you need to seriously think about how uncomfortable they are simply by your grieving. Instead of comforting you in a devastating time and making things easier for you, having compassion and empathy, they've decided to do the opposite. They are emotionally inept, and I dare say this is the first blaring red flag you've seen. Also, the fact that mother-in-law is trying to change the script in your head because you weren't supposed to hear what she said is pitiful. She obviously doesn't want you to think lowly of her, but that ship has sailed. Integrity is what we do when no one is looking or hearing, and this family has no integrity. I hope you find the support you deserve in this horrific time. I cannot imagine the grief you are experiencing, and this now has just made it all so much worse. Good luck. Not the a-hole by any stretch. Your husband and his family are incredibly insensitive. You have a negative vibe? Seriously? Were you supposed to just get over this in 2 days? It's not like a goldfish died. He describes OP as usually being emotional for him in a negative context, which can carry unsavory undertones. OP needs to reevaluate whether she's best off staying in this marriage or getting out of it. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my father that he was not a good father to his daughters? The incident that sparked this is very small, but there is quite a bit of a background. A few days ago, I, 30 female, was leaving our small town to go to a metro city hospital for a minor procedure. My father, 58 male, came to pick me up and drop me off at the airport. He was using my car while I was gone. He is very fit and strong, and I am a small woman. I was struggling with my luggage, and he knew that pre-operation I should not lift extra weights, but he did not offer to help. He does these things often. In contrast, when my sister-in-law carries even a small bag of groceries, he runs to help. I was put off, but did not say anything. My brother did the same thing again yesterday. He still helps his wife and female friends, but while he has relied on my effective labor for years, he has never paid anything back. I have learned to be very independent as a result, but being vulnerable pre- and post-op made me reflect on this. Of course, this goes back to our entire childhood. My father worked less than my mom, but never helped with any chores or childcare. Instead, he always gave her work. Dinner parties, house guests, etc. He was abusive to my mother when she protested, and at times to me and my sister. He is the nice guy for outsiders and has a respectful life. I remember my mom being completely submissive until I was 7 or 8, but after a while, she started fighting back, and she became a difficult person, abusive back and words with him and often being short-tempered with us. While I do not justify what she did, she has apologized profusely in both words and practical ways. My father has acknowledged that he mistreated my mom and has tried to make amends, but he has consistently denied any mistreatment to my sister and I. They are still together, but the dynamic has shifted. Last night was one of those nights. I was not there, but have seen it play out. My father was passive-aggressive for days, until my mother started arguing. Their argument turned into a full-blown one. Today, my brother, who had never endured my dad's antics, was sarcastic about my mom being a tyrant. I responded soberly to him that the women in our family have learned to demand to be treated with basic respect because asking nicely has not borne fruit. And I mentioned the luggage incident as a minor example of what our mother endured for years. My brother responded that if this bothered me, I lack emotional intelligence. That hurt. A little later, my father called and asked if he could talk to me. I responded with, "No, you cannot until you become a better father to my sister and I. Until you show to your son that he cannot call me emotionally and intelligent for expecting a strong man, whom I have consistently served, to lift my heavy for me luggage in return." My father started crying and said that he knows he was wrong, but he has excuses, and I told him that sorry but doesn't cut it anymore. My brother is calling me the a-hole for not having a compassionate response. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. When your brother called you emotionally unintelligent, he meant to call you difficult to subdue. It seems that the patriarchy in your family is finally being called to justice, so to speak, and they don't like finding themselves on the other end of the stick. They're sorry they got caught, not that they were horrible. If your mom hadn't developed an aggressive stance toward your father, things would be the same to this day, and he wouldn't feel remorse as long as she kept playing the role he envisioned for her, you and your sister. Your brother's comment was daft, and shows clearly as water that he's grown to be his father's son and would continue to disrespect the women in his life if they let him. You are entitled to express your feelings. That is very much what I responded. They just claim their point of view with such certainty and indignation that it makes me wonder. They're grasping at straws not to be outed as the horrible people they are/were. You're not falling for it because you're emotionally intelligent as it seems. So they, your brother in this instance, tried to insult you into silence in my opinion. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry your dad is like this, and it appears your brother is following the same pattern. I highly recommend the book Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. It's eye-opening, and if your dad is actually changing in any way, he might recognize himself in it. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my parents to adopt my ex-fiancé? My female 24, ex-fiancé male 24, and I were together for 7 years. He proposed last fall and we mutually decided to break up in May. He's always gotten along incredibly well with my parents, especially my father. They always treated him like he was one of their children, and my parents have always told him he's part of the family. For example, he started coming on family vacations with us when we were 17. It was a very tough decision to end our relationship, but we both agreed it was for the best. He moved out while I finished up our lease term. His plans fell through last minute, and he moved in with my parents for a little while finding a new place. Obviously, I felt a little weird about him moving into my childhood bedroom and being at my parents' house a fair amount. It led to lots of awkward interactions, but we got past it. He moved out at the start of August and I thought that was that. But last night, my parents invited me over for dinner. They sat me down and explained that since the wedding was off, and my ex-fiancé wasn't going to be part of the family by marriage, they wanted to adopt him. They asked him last week and he agreed as long as I'm okay with it. I'm definitely not. I told them that I'm not really comfortable with that. And they started telling me that I'm keeping them away from their son. And that I need to tell him that I'm okay with it so that we can all be a real family. I'm worried I'm being an a-hole because they have cared so much for my ex over the years. I'm also worried I'm being selfish by worrying about how to explain this to future partners. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your parents are weird. Not the a-hole, OP. Lol. My first thought was it's totally cool for parents to love their kids' significant other like their own. But your parents are beyond weird, OP. Reading this post made me feel like I walked through a cave full of hallucinogenic mist. They what? They want to adopt a grown man. Your ex-fiancé no less. So that he remains part of the family? Not the whole hun, but I think your parents need a psychological evaluation because that idea is super crazy. If Opie doesn't have any brothers, they may have seen him as the son they never had. And depending on the relationship he has with his parents, he may have reciprocated. I do actually have a younger brother. He's going to university in another country and doesn't visit home very often. My ex's mom passed when he was young, and his dad remarried and is much more invested in his new family. I'm surprised he agreed, but haven't had a chance to actually talk to him about it. Not the a-hole. And your parents are freaking weird for even thinking this is an acceptable thing to do. Seriously, this one is a hill to die on. Your parents need to decide whether you are family or he is family. But it's crazy to think that they can have both, simply because they like the dude. For real though, I would tell my parents if they went through with this, they would gain a son but lose a daughter. They should actually be starting to distance themselves from him now that the relationship is over. But instead, they went way into the opposite direction to BSC ideas. Next story. Am I the a-hole for giving my mother a house on the condition that my brother and his family do not come to live with her? My 45 female mother, 76 female, is a very simple person. My father abandoned us when the youngest was 6 months old, and my mother was never the same mentally. I have a good financial condition. I try to help as much as I can with the groceries and bills. But it is very complicated because my mother refuses to come live with me and remains in the terrible house that my father gave her in the divorce. My brother, my sister-in-law, and their 3 children, 13 male, 9 male, and 5 female, live in the house at the back. And the house was tiny with a big yard. My brother built his house in the back and made the house even smaller. And he uses my mom as a free babysitter to take care of the kids he had. Not to mention the dogs he adopted and never paid their food, and several times their children go to eat at my mother's house. Keep in mind that my mother receives a low income in retirement. That is only really enough for her to support herself. I've been saving money for more than a decade to buy her a house and I finally got it. It is a simple house with 1 bedroom and bath with a big yard with a garden. Perfect for her. I talked to her and she agreed with me that it would be better for the house to be in my name because I know my brothers and what they are capable at any given opportunity. But it would have a lifetime usufruct clause for her only. I warned her that I don't want my brother to move with her, but in return she wouldn't have to worry about bills and food anymore, as I would help. She looked relieved. I told my brother at her request. She was next to me. And he said it would be difficult to accommodate everyone, but that eventually he would help expand the house to house everyone. I saw the despair on my mother's face, so I just made it very clear that the house was for my mother and not for them. He started to say yes, but said he could help with the bills or food, and that his and mother's house was too bad for a family of 5. I said no, that mother accepted the gift knowing that he wouldn't live there, and that due to their history I wouldn't trust him to pay the bills. He doesn't pay my mother, and I wouldn't be paying for 5 people. He started calling me selfish and that I was an a-hole to give a gift on condition, knowing how bad my mom's house is and that she obviously has no other option to accept. He said I was purposely harming him and making him out to be a monster. My mom is more relieved to get out of the house, but my brothers are calling me an a-hole even more because the house is in my name. Am I the a-hole? Not today, Hall. You're saving your mom from your mooch of a brother and he's just being spiteful because you're doing so in a way that he cannot exploit. Opie should also have a written agreement done by a lawyer. That way, in the event Opie was to go on vacation or business trip and couldn't take his mom, that agreement would prove as evidence that his brother isn't allowed to move in or do any modifications to the house. Not the A-hole. However, if you haven't already, you should consider consulting an attorney to have a plan to enforce keeping your brother out of your mother's house. I should say your house because you're the owner, fortunately. That way, if it tries to step over the line and invade her space, your property, you can take action. And make sure you let him know you have consulted a lawyer and there will be consequences if he does anything improper. Maybe get power of attorney from your mother if anything should happen to her. Not today, Hall. And you think what your brother says about the house for your mother only is important. Why? Your brother has long been imposing himself and his family onto your mother. He spends money that is not his and largely supports his family with the help of her old house and you paying some of the expenses. He's even taking advantage of you to help raise and keep his dogs. What you should care a wit's edge about what he thinks of you is beyond me. Okay, he's your brother, but he's also a free rider on your money and your mother's. I don't know what a usufruct is, unless it is a legal way to keep your brother and his family from moving in and taking it over. You definitely need an attorney to draw up legal papers that you and your mother would sign that would keep him doing that all ever. He has a bad record. He took over your mother's house and stole part of his family's support from you and your mother. You owe him nothing. Do whatever it takes to keep him from moving in at his leisure after your mother does. He sounds like the kind of person who is constantly thinking of how things can turn in his direction. I bet even now he's scheming to move there in spite of what you and your mother said to him. You need something legal and forceful to keep him out, and be willing to enforce it if you must. My heart hurts for your mother. She deserves a quiet, livable house with expenses that she can afford, just like what you have given her. This clause prevents me from expelling my mother from the house. She is free to manage as she wants until her death. But there's the condition that my brother doesn't move into the house. Yes, legal papers are being made. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my child's college fund to my stepson so he can go to college? I, female 43, am married to my husband Neil, male 46. We've been married for 2 years and together for a total of 5 years. We have children from previous relationships. I have my daughter Grace, female 20, and Neil has a daughter and a son. Lola, female 23, and Alex, male 18. When I was pregnant with Grace, my late parents generously set aside a college fund for her. It has been placed in a bank account under my name, and it's up to me to give the funds to Grace. There was a change of plan. Grace decided she didn't want to go to college and instead got a job as a real estate agent through a friend in the industry and doing a full-time 5-month training course. She now makes decent money. Neil has been pestering me about the college fund lately as Alex wants to go to college to pursue a degree in criminology. He said I should give the college fund to Alex instead, since Grace doesn't want to go to college anyway, so she doesn't need the money. I'm unsure as to what to do with the college fund because my parents only wanted the money to go to Grace, on the condition that she uses it to go to college. I told Neil no, and he got really offended and said that my decision isn't fair on Alex. I'm considering giving the money to Grace anyway, so she can use it to put towards a house. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Neil and I have a prenup. So if we were to divorce, he would not be entitled to anything. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. That money was specifically left for Grace. Indeed. Not to mention Grace might want to use the money for a house like Opie stated, or to pursue college or any other professional education she might want/need. At the end of the day, that money was set aside by your parents for Grace, Opie. Not the a-hole. Also, am I the only one who thinks it's weird to ask for a college fund money like this? No, you're not the only one. But I've seen in my own family how weird people get where money is concerned. Everyone seems to think they are entitled to family money somehow. Not the a-hole. He has, presumably, had a son for at least 18 years now. What was his plan originally for Alex's college? I mean, it's not like it's surprise. Your kid at 18 wants to pursue higher education in a society that damn near freaking demands it. Neil's being obtuse at best, and a lazy money grubber at worst. Not the a-hole. It's Grace's money from her grandparents. If she's not using it for college, give it to her for her house or to start her own kids' college fund. It's not your money. You're just a steward. This is what angers me about these types of posts. Why is it that the step-parent, usually recent step-parent, is somehow the one responsible for paying for college instead of the bio parents? Not day whole. Your parents gave that money to invest in Grace's future. They reasonably thought that meant college, but other activities such as classes, real estate conferences, or helping Grace at some point set up an office are all investing in her future. This needs more upvotes. I absolutely agree that even if the money doesn't technically go to college, investing in her future was the point. She basically did a sort of trade school and got specific schooling for that career, and she is doing well. Giving her a down payment on a house or an office space would be just as beneficial to her future as college, which is overpriced and not worth it if you don't need it. Not day whole. It's not your money. It's more or less money that you hold in trust for Grace's education. Since Grace decided not to pursue college, you need to decide what your parents would have wanted you to do with the money in these circumstances. Give it to Grace anyway to fritter away as she pleases? Hold on to it in case Grace does eventually decide to go to college. Hold on to it and put it toward Grace's potential children's educations. But it's not yours to give to your husband's children. This is a great answer. I have a strong suspicion that use it for your new stepson's education would not figure in OP's parents' thinking. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not exempting my daughter from our no Wi-Fi rule when she claims she needs the internet for homework? 43 male, I have 3 children. Vivian, 17 female, Annabelle, 8 female, and Lucas, 8 male. My wife and I have a rule that from 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. on weekdays and 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. on weekends, the Wi-Fi goes off. Because we don't want them staring at screens all day. Sophie and I had fun with our imaginations as kids, and ours can do the same. School started the last week of August for Vivian, and she has become extremely combative with the no Wi-Fi rule. She keeps pushing her limits about using the Wi-Fi during the off hours, because she always claims she have homework. I have had to take away her phone because we've got Vivian using some kind of phone app that gives her computer Wi-Fi. She's constantly angry and claiming she needs it for homework. I'm highly doubtful that she has so much homework so often. When I was in high school, we didn't even get homework until October. I was able to finish my homework in 20 minutes, and I certainly didn't need all weekend to do it. Vivian needs to learn how to get it done faster. She's taking too long, and she needs to start hurrying up with her homework now, because in college, she will receive far more work and have much less time to complete it. Vivian got very angry on Friday because she said she needed the Wi-Fi again and there was an assignment due that night. She got angry at us because we shut the Wi-Fi off at the usual time, and she said she had to rush the assignment and likely got a bad grade for it. She's also complaining that she needed a computer to study and will fail otherwise. I admit I was very firm with Vivian. I sat her down and I told her that she needs to grow up and stop with the excuses and the disrespect. It's unfair to Annabelle and Lucas if she gets an exemption from the Wi-Fi rule. If she actually has homework, she needs to pick up the pace. I could do those high school assignments in 20 minutes, and she needs to be self-accountable for not hurrying up with work. She also doesn't need a laptop to study, and her trying to tell me otherwise is ridiculous. Vivian started crying and didn't seem to understand my message at all. My wife claims it's teenage hormones, but it's incredibly frustrating because Vivian cries and shuts down whenever I try to talk to her about something she doesn't want to hear. Several family members, including my wife, are saying I should let Vivian have the extra Wi-Fi because high school is getting harder, and they think all teenagers need the internet for help. But again, I've listed the reasons above why doing that would be wrong. Still, I'm asking on here if I should just do it for my wife and family. Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. I always got homework starting the first day of school, and it was generally hours worth. Either way, she's 17, not a small child. You don't need to control her internet usage. Give her some freedom as she's almost an adult. She's 17, not 8. Come into 2022 era and forget the 80s. Things have changed, and internet isn't like the dial-up or DSL expensive. The rest of our age group have come to realize that with kids now. When she's in the real world and college, she's going to be all over the internet for studying and research. Wow, and I thought me still buying physical books was seen as bad when there's digital books. This is just annoying. High school teacher here. She could absolutely have homework now. Did it ever occur to you that you could just have her show you the assignment? In my class, almost all of our assignments are online, and you need internet access to them. You cannot judge high school today by what you did. It's just a different world. You're the a-hole and might be hearing from teachers soon. As another high school teacher, have you tried reaching out to her teachers since you obviously don't trust your daughter? Easy way to confirm average homework load per class. Either way, you're the a-hole. School has changed a lot just in the last 10 years. You have no idea what your daughter is being asked to do by her teachers. When I was in high school, kids today have a lot more homework and a lot more assignments that require the use of the internet. I'm bewildered and appalled you're so disconnected from this day and age that you don't know that. Plus, she's 17. 1 year away from being able to move out and get away from your micromanaging. You're the a-hole. Educate yourself. Edit. Why don't you do your due diligence as a parent and check and see how much homework she has? Why are you basing your decision on an assumption?